Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I don't know exactly, I don't know, there's many reasons, but I don't know exactly which one, or maybe all of the above, could be the reasons why Lithuania, that country of about 2.5 million people, a Baltic country, small country, is so angry with Russia. And you should be angry with Soviet Union, but not with Russia. Is it activated? I know they have some people who work for other foreign agencies in Lithuania. Lithuania is not independent, as Romania is not independent. They are, vassal states. But Lithuania is barking and has been barking very loudly, very loudly. Remember, Lithuania has about 2.8 million people, or between 2.5 and 2.8, depends how you look at them. If you drive too fast, you miss the, 4 million people or something. So there, 4 million people, I'm sorry, 400,000 people, Jesus Christ. So it's like that, 2.8 or 2.9 or 2.5, something like that. So these guys do a lot of shit that should not be done, I think. But hey, the problem is actions have consequences. What now? Lithuania wants to dig up the Soviet, not the Russian, the Soviet soldiers' remains who fought the Nazis and relocate them, I don't know where. Do what the Russians did from Moscow. Remember they did with that Polish guy? Was it a duke that became for a few days the Tsar or something? Not a Tsar, something like that. And they cut him off, the Polish guy, and they put him on a cannon. They cut him to pieces, put him on a cannon, and directed it towards Poland, and boom. Psst. Remember they sent him to Poland from Moscow? Obviously it was a symbolic. Well, I read about it, so it's in history. It was a Polish guy who little by little warmed himself and became something very important. Not the Tsar, something like a regent, something close to whatever he was doing. And then eventually he got screwed. These guys cut him off, put him in the cannon towards Poland, send him back home. Sorry, I'm not saying this to make fun. I'm just, looking at this. What are the Lithuanians going to do with this Soviet bones? Could be Moldovan bones, could be Ukrainian bones, could be, I don't know, Kazakh bones, Georgian bones, Uzbek bones, whatever. They were part of the Soviet Union at that time. So what are you going to do? Do a DNA test to figure out who's let's say, Ukrainian and who's a Russian? You're going to have a fucking hard time to figure that out. I guarantee you that. But what is this? I will read you this article, and then I will tell you a story, a real story. What Adolf Hitler did when he destroyed France in 3 weeks. What he did with that train when Germany in the First World War were made to sign, armistice. It was a little carriage, train carriage, and that's where the Germans signed against the French. Now, names are escaping. I can remember the French general because he is over there. Anyway, let's go back to this article. Sputnik, and I'm quoting, "International insolence, Lithuanian style, MPs approve," so this is the parliament, "approve relocating Soviet soldiers' remains." Oh well. Imagine that, I don't even want to think about it. The past few years have been a rise in cases of vandalism against Soviet, not Russian, Soviet monuments in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Together, all these three countries, called the Baltic states, have a population of 6.1 million people. All right, are you scared yet? All right, which Russia condemns as the Baltic states, and I'm quoting, "harmful attempts to fight their history." End quote. Lithuania's parliament has approved amendments to the country's laws that stipulate relocating Soviet soldiers' burial places by including them in a list of public venues that promote banned ideology. And I'm quoting, under the amendments, the ban on the liquidation of graves and cemeteries, including the register of cultural values, can be lifted if the burial places are recognized as something that promotes, and I'm quoting, totalitarian and authoritarian regimes and their ideologies. That means you have to ban the Bible too. Bible is not something very democratic. The organization is not really, we have a hierarchy. Not only that, but are you going to ban kings? I mean, there's not democracy there. Totalitarian and authoritarian regimes. Why don't you look at yourselves and see how much authority you have? Zero is the guys in Washington, D.C. See how much we have over there. So, let's see. Let me tell you about that story. Fuchs. Was it Fuchs? General Fuchs? I think it was. Or Marshal Fuchs. Anyway, General Marshal, my bad. He was the one who signed at the armistice with the Germans in a carriage. On the lines, how you got railroad lines. It was humiliating for the Germans to show up. So when Hitler screwed them in 3 weeks, he did this. He went and he took, because the French took that particular carriage and put it in a museum. That's what they did. They put it in a museum where the Germans signed their armistice. And Hitler demanded that freaking carriage being taken out and brought on the same location where it was signed. Over there, it's you can find it. You can find on YouTube when Hitler comes. Look at Marshal. I think it was Marshal Fuchs. Looks around, turns around, and goes to the carriage, which was relocated like these bones. He comes in, looks around, comes out, does this, and leaves. He doesn't sign shit. Leaves those guys to deal with the French. That's what he did. Now, even now, if you ask the French, that was humiliation. What is this? And the Germans didn't do anything worse than the French did, because the French did it worse because they did it in the first place. These guys just copied it. So remember that biblical Christian verse, what you don't like to be done unto you, don't do to someone else. Well, I guess. So if you did it before, you should be okay if someone does it to you too, right? No, mais non. Maintenant, papadom, papabam, au revoir. All right? Here is, my friends. This is what these guys are doing. They are taking out the bones of people who lost their lives. Let's say it's my father over there. Let's say I'm a Russian and my father fought over there, for whatever you want to call it, fighting the Nazism. Are you agreeing with the Nazis? I mean, Lithuania has now German troops over there. They're not Nazis anymore. But what those guys did to those guys, unless they agreed, the Lithuanians, with the German occupation, tells you what? You agree with that? You don't like these ones? My friends, there were people, simple people, not simple, commoners, like some. All right, I was about to say you and I, but I know who you are and I know who I am. So, people who died at the orders of others, because that's how the wars are fought. And they died over there. I don't think that they even knew what they fought for. Maybe they like propaganda. These guys invaded us, these guys killed us, we're going to do this, evil that, and so on. Like always in history, always. So they died over there. Let's say one of them is my parent or your parent. Would you like that? Would you be so imbecile to say, yeah, man, these guys, in the name of against totalitarian, authoritarian regimes, they should retake my father's bones, send them to a location somewhere where they're gonna be bashed as being, supporter of totalitarian, authoritarian. But hey, why now? Why now? I mean, those guys were buried over there from what? From 1945, 44, 43? They were over there. Why now? Isn't that idiotic? This is like you're a participant in the crime, all right, or you're aware of a crime, but you keep your mouth shut until it's convenient to you to say it. And then it happened to me in investigation. In some of my investigations, I used to speak with different people, and at one point they were telling me all kind of shit because these guys were trying to get this guy in trouble. And I was saying, but you, right here, you were aware of the crime for 5 years. The abuse occurred, the crime occurred, kept occurring for 5 years. You were aware of it and you were keeping your mouth shut. And now you tell me because she's got a boyfriend and you don't like that. You're an asshole and you're a criminal. This is the same thing with the other guy who has a plan and waits until all these kids, some of them toddlers or get in infancy, they get all kind of diseases and die, and have a plan. I'm waiting for my plan. So the same here. Why now? Why now? I tell you why. Because you are under occupation. Not only military occupation, ideological, political, economic, social occupation. Remember, we're 2024, and now you to the Soviets, and the Soviets are Ukrainians too. Do you hate Ukrainians as well? And why now? Why now? That means you were okay for what? At least 30 years until you became independent again? Remember, and the guys who gave you to the Soviets, not the Russians, to the Soviets, to the Georgian criminal, whatever, totalitarian tyrant, Stalin, he was not Russian. Who gave you to these guys? The Germans and then the Americans agreed with everything. That's how you ended up in Soviet Union. Because these guys were pussified, saying, we're not going to fight Stalin. Uncle Joe, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt used to call Stalin. My friends, if you know shit, you realize none of these guys is clean. None of them. Talking about the big guys. Big people, big crimes, in this case. So, idiotic. And what they're going to do? They need one weapon. One mistake made by the Russians, and then the Lithuanians will be all scattered. And nobody will come to help you. Nobody. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.